Hello Magic fans, I'm Beef and welcome back to another standard gameplay video, and today we are playing a Mardu Mobilize deck. So Mobilize is a new mechanic from Tarkir Dragonstorm. It's actually one of the mechanics I was most excited to play when discovered it, when I saw the spoilers for it. And what it is, Mobilize always has a number associated to it. For example, Stadium Headliner has Mobilize 1, and what it means is whenever you attack with this creature, you create a number of tapped and attacking 1/1 red warrior creature tokens equal to that number, so in the case of Headliner 1, and then you sacrifice them at the beginning of your next end step. So we have a few of these cards that create these tokens, and we have built synergies around that. So as I said, we do have the Stadium Headliner, which is a 1 mana 1/1 with Mobilize 1, and then we can pay 2 and sack it, and it deals damage equal to the number of creatures we control a target creature. So it can act as a removal spell, and obviously we're going to have quite a few creatures on the board, and that doesn't have any sorcery speed restrictions, meaning that we can attack with it and our other mobilized creatures, get a wide board, then maybe sack it while we have all those warrior tokens on the battlefield. We also have Voice of Victory, a 2 mana 1/3 with Mobilize 2, and it also says our opponents can't cast spells during your turn, so that's great. Shutdowns, counter spells, or instant speed removal, which is really, really powerful. Then we have 3 copies of Dalkovan Pack Beasts, which is a 3 mana 0/4 Vigilance and Mobilize 3. So obviously the creature itself is not particularly great, but Mobilize 3 does mean you are getting in with 3 1/1s, and it being a 0/4 means it can attack and block because it's got Vigilance pretty readily. And our final Mobilize card is Zurgo, Thunder's Decree. It's a Khan of Mardu. It's a 3 mana 2/4 in each of the Mardu's colours with Mobilize 2, but basically says during your end step, warrior tokens you control have this creature can't be sacrificed, meaning that basically our Mobilized warriors don't sacrifice at the end of our turn. They can still hit by either effects during our turn, but just at the end of a turn we don't sacrifice them. So that's our Mobilize cards, and what do we have built around it? So another new card is Windcrag Siege. There's a whole host of these sieges between 2 mana, and when they come down you can choose a mode. In this case it's Mardu or Jeskai, and we choose both options equally really. So Mardu is if a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent we control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time, so therefore this was called our Mobilize triggers to trigger an additional time. And then Jeskai says at the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. It gains haste and lifelink until end of turn, so that's great. These aren't warrior tokens, so we don't sacrifice them. So we can get in the turn we play them, get a bit of lifelink. And obviously if we have mobilised creatures on the board, we want Mardu, but if we don't, we want Jeskai. And obviously they do double up if we have multiples on the battlefield. Probably the most powerful new card in the deck is Elspeth Stormslayer, a 5 mana 5/5, and it has a static ability. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many tokens are created instead. So obviously with Mobilize this is just insane, doubling it up. Then we can +1 to create a 1/1 white soldier creature token, but obviously that creates 2 because of her static ability. We can 0 to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature we control, then those creatures can fly until our next turn. So this can be used for an Alpha Strike to get in for lethal, and a -3, which we can do immediately because she has 5 loyalty. Destroy target creature an opponent controls with mana value 3 or greater, so that can get a big blocker out of the way. So this is just insane really, because obviously it doubles up our Mobilize tokens, and we can also just create 2 tokens a turn. And essentially our finishers outside of the Mobilize are Ellis Ilkor, which is an old card that we've seen. A 2 mana 2/2 Death Touch. Whenever a creature we control enters, we gain a life. Whenever a creature we control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. So obviously each token we get from our Mobilize gains a life, and when we sacrifice those creatures, we lose. Our opponent loses a life. Zurgo is a bit of a non-bo because it doesn't cause us to sack our tokens, not get that trigger, but obviously it makes it more likely for our opponent needs to block those tokens because they're going to hang around. And then War Leader's Call is probably the MVP of the deck, a 3 mana enchantment. We've seen this one before. It buffs our entire board by +1/+1. It says whenever a creature we control enters, this enchantment deals 1 damage to each opponent. If we have a choice between this and the Siege, this is the better call because it buffs our creatures and pings them as well. So for example, a Voice of Victory now hits in for 2. Those tokens now hit for 2 each for 4. And because we created those tokens, we're pinging our opponent for 1 each. So the tokens themselves are essentially doing 6 damage, and the Voice of Victory is doing another 2. So if we do have the choice of a 2, that's what we'll play. Another new card is Frontline Rush, a 2 mana instant. We can choose one, create 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. Because it's an instant, we can do it at the end of our opponent's turn, so we know goblins can attack the next turn, or target creature gets +X +X at the end of turn, where X is the number of creatures we control. This allows a creature to win combat, if they block one of our mobilized creatures, we want to keep it around, or if they don't block something, we can just get in for lethal or a huge amount of damage. And then we have Burst Lightning for additional removal, some cheap removal. You could go with Get Lost, but I want with the one mana play, and a couple of copies of Desperate Measures, another new card. This acts a bit like Skull Clamps. Skull Clamps are really old equipment. It may be from like the first set that had equipment, but they didn't realise how stupidly broken it would be. But it's the same effect of target creature gets +1/-1 until the end of turn, and if that creature dies under our control, we draw 2 cards. That is exactly the same as Skull Clamp. So if we get in with our tokens before we sacrifice them, we can get basically sacrifice 1 to draw 2 cards. Acts like a Village Rites or Deadly Dispute or whatever. If we've got a War Leader's cooldown and it buffs our board up to 2/2s, it is a bit of a non-bo, which is why we've only got 2. But we don't have a lot of card draw. Obviously, you could play something like Caretaker's Talent, but something I'll get into a bit, I think, in the wrap-up is we have a lot of 3-drops, and having another 3-drop probably isn't the best. Mana base is, as you would expect, we're mostly red and white. We do have a few black cards, but we need to make sure we hit those black cards because LSL Core is one of our better cards, and so is Zurgo, and we want mana for Desperate Measures. But interesting to point out, Dalkovan Encampment, another new card. So it enters tapped unless we control a swamp or a mountain. There's a whole cycle of these cards that enter tapped unless you control one of the other paired colours. So Mardu is obviously white, black and red, and it taps red, white, and we can pay 2 and tap it. Whenever we attack this turn, we create 2 1/1 of those red white creature tokens, sack them at the beginning of our next end step. So additional ways, basically mobilise on the land. It is doubled up by Elspeth. It does trigger LSL Core. If we've got Zurgo, it won't sacrifice them. So great synergy with everything. And we also have 3 copies of the new Nomad Outpost, which I think is a reprint from original Tarkir. It's a tri-land in Mardu colours, enters tapped. It doesn't count as the basic lands, which is frustrating because we are playing the Verges. So the only things that activate the Verges are our basic lands. And we do have 2 copies of Elegant Parlour, the red-white Surveil land. So this is a really fun deck. You can play it slightly differently. You can play it less mobilised and more tokeny, with maybe it's like Voices of Victory and Stadium Headliner, because these are probably the best cards, and have Novice Inspector and Lethal Demolition and Caretaker's Talent and stuff like that, or Urabras Forge to double up those tokens with Elspeth Stormslayer and stuff like that. But I wanted to look at the mobilized deck, and it is pretty good. It is a mid-range deck. It's not an aggro deck. It is not a long, a game goes long deck. As the game goes longer, you are more likely to lose. But it is a, you attack on turn 3 or 4 for quite a lot, and the next turn you win because you just have so much power on the board for that turn. So it's a great deck. Really interesting new mechanic. We've seen this kind of mechanic before, but it's never been keyworded. So hopefully it comes back. I really like that attack triggers, and something like Ishin from Kamigawa, which doubles up attack triggers as well, which is a commander which you could play a lot of these cards in, and it is in Mardu colours. So really exciting deck. Hope you all enjoy it. If you do, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in my gameplay. Not the fastest hand. Yeah, annoying that we can't play out Ellis. But next turn we can get down LSL Core. I would like another black mana so that we can Desperate Measures one of the tokens. We gain 3 life. Do 3 to them, and then drain them. Well, not drain them, ping them for 3. Now we need a land for Elsbeth. That is a land, but not the one we wanted to see. We'll put this on Jeskai. Question is, do they have their own Elsbeth? We'll probably just end up desperate measuring one of those to draw a couple of cards. But they draw a lot of cards themselves. We'll let that go in. So we'll play out the encampment. Let's activate the encampment. Tick up. And play this on Jeskai, because then now we attack and create a few warriors. Fortunately, they do get sacrificed. Do you have another exercise? You do! Great. They have the lesser Archangel, Elsbeth. Well, I think, yeah, we definitely do this. Let's try and take down Elsbeth. Let's do it like that. Don't know why it said 3 remaining when there was 4. I would love an LSL core. Yeah, they carry on drawing. Well, I think we kick and take down their Elsbeth. That's 3 Day of Judgments? Yep. Do they have the 4th? No, but they do hit their Get Lost. We knew it was coming at some point. Yeah, their card draw is just too much for us to handle. Yeah, there's their Elsbeth. We just couldn't keep up with their card draw. I think this is a too slow hand. We put back a siege. I think we get out their headliner. They're playing Teamer. I think we get down a siege on Mardu. Or is that going to take out our... The amount of removal is just absolutely ridiculous. Fine, let's play out Ill Court and we'll scry. Alright, well, we'll play out the siege on Jeskai. Yeah, there's the monument. So we are on a very fast clock now. Doesn't help that our opponent seems to be taking a huge amount of time. Play out the Verge. Let's play out a second siege on Jeskai. You can hold up Desperate Measures to draw 2. That's good. You take out a Goblin, but we can Desperate Measures. Blimey. Well, let's put it on Mardu. But if they have another World Souls Rage, to get a load of lands back, they're going to create a lot of dragons. I would love a War Leader's Call. There's one dragon. I mean, it doesn't do a huge amount. It doesn't kill our pack beasts. So let's work this out. 1, 2, 2, 5, 8. We have 9 creatures. 8 plus 9 is 17. Perfecto. Interesting deck, and one I think we'll definitely play. Like a landfall trigger with Dragonback Assault, but the fact that they only managed to trigger it once is a bit of an issue for them. We go first. Well, with a slow hand, but frontline rush. Fortunately, at the moment, we can't cast it on turn 2. Unless we draw a plane. Well, we can get that down. They have an Overlord. Well, that was actually the completely wrong land to play. I don't have anything in a graveyard to bring back yet. Oh, let's get down Elsbeth. That'll be the crew, I think, that's holding up. Holding up. Oh yeah, that was a slight whiff, but it did have death touch, so did take it out. Well, let's create some more. Three, 4, 5. Yeah, not quite enough for lethal yet. And yeah, next turn we create 4, 6 tokens, which ping from War Leader's Call, and we create another 2, in fact, so we can just kill them from the pings. When our opponent goes first, again, up the beanstalk. I'm not sure we need a third LS Ilkor. Next turn we play out the Windcrag Siege, doubling up the Pack Beast triggers. Or not. Or not. Bit of a nombo between Elesil Core and Zurgo, because Zurgo causes our tokens not to be sacrificed. Yeah, they can play a very cheap Hulk Burster Swarm. Husk Burster Swarm, not Hulk. Well, let's Windcrag Siege. Double up the triggers. But next turn we can War Leader's Call, or if we draw a land, just Elsbeth. We play out Elsbeth, we just give everything flying. And I think it's +1/+1, yeah. We buff our entire board, give everything flying, and win. We go first, with I think an okay hand. It's a bit slow, we haven't got much mobilisation stuff, or any. But we can maybe play Windcrag Siege on Jeskai if we need to. Oh good, Screaming Nemesis. Obviously we don't really want to do damage to that, because Windcrag Sieges do, goblins do have lifelink. The turn they come down anyway. Well, let's play out Zurgo. Take out their, well, deal 2 to their Conqueror, so our Goblin does kill it. Is that any target? Yeah. So we don't want to block with Zurgo, because it will just kill it. Well, let's play out an Elesil Core. Maybe? Sorry about the sound outside. Probably should have done it before the All Core came into play. let's see what we hit with Explore. We'll keep the Windcrag Siege. Do on Jeskai as well. They're down to 3. That's fine. We have another one. That's less fine because it now has lifelink. Take that. Hello Magic fans, and welcome back to a very quick wrap up. So I said in the deck tech, I really like this deck and this style of deck. I think it is great. The only problem I find with Mobilize, and maybe you can spot it, is that we have a lot of 3-drops, and obviously two of them aren't specifically Mobilize cards, although Windcrag Siege is Mobilize Synergy, and War Leader's Call is from an old set. But Dalkovan Pack Piece and Zurgo are both 3-drops, so we have a lot of 3-drops, which is a bit of an issue. And I think a wider issue is that if we look at all the cards that have Mobilize, there are 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 Mobilize cards, and all but Shock Brigade, which is, you know, a bit naff, Voices of Victory and Stadium Headliner are 3 or more, and that is expensive. Especially, you know, in a deck that is not going that long. If we had more 2-drops, we could, you know, double cast on turn 4, whereas we've got to wait till basically turn 6 to double cast those 3-drops and hope we have enough mana. That's, I think, the only problem with Mobilize in the deck is, you know, they're not expensive, but there's too many 3-drops. You could play Avenger of the Fallen is a card I really want to play with. It has Mobilize X, where X is the number of creature cards in our graveyard. We're not a graveyard deck. I think you could build it. The problem is in black, red, and white, none of those colours apart from black or specific graveyard. I think synergies, you would need to play like black and blue or green to mill loads and then attack with Avenger of the Fallen. And then if you want, you know, you could still have LSL Core in like black white, but you probably couldn't go, you know, 4 colours into War Leader's Call or Windcrag Siege. So just something to be aware of. But yeah, you could go more removal as well, and probably Caretaker Standard draw, but I really like this version of the deck. What I do find interesting, there's another new card called Mardu Siegebreaker, which is really powerful. It's a 4-mana 4/4 Death Touch Haste. It says when it enters, exile up to 1 other target creature you control till the creature leaves the battlefield. And it says whenever this creature attacks, for each opponent, create a tap token that's a copy of the exile card attacking that opponent. At the beginning of your next end step, sacrifice those tokens. So it's Mardu, but as far as I know how it works, is it doesn't synergize with Mobilize. Because Mobilize is an attack trigger, and Mardu Siegebreaker creates the tokens already attacking, it won't get that attack trigger. So, you know, you can't, you know, get down Zurgo, then get down Mardu Siegebreaker and exile Zurgo and attack and create a Zurgo every turn and all that kind of stuff. It just wouldn't work. There's definitely a powerful deck in there around, you know, cards with great ETBs, but it seems odd that it's a Mardu card, but it doesn't synergize with the Mardu mechanic. So, but let me know down in the comments if you know anything differently. But as far as I know, that is how attack triggers work. So anyway, really like this deck. Really powerful. Definitely going to have a play. Probably play around with a more token one than mobilize one, as I said before. So watch out for that video, please. Hope if you'll like it. If you do, please remember to like and subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next video.